Well, hello and welcome to Vampire the Masquerade: Shadows of New York. It is the sequel to the previously done Coteries of New York, which is available on the Skye Blacke YouTube account. I highly recommend everyone go and watch that after this stream to make sure that you kind of know what's going on. To my knowledge, some of the similar characters might appear, but it isn't a direct sequel, so we're not playing the same character. But if you want a bigger understanding of the setting, then hop on in. For those of you who do not know me, hello, my name is Skye Blacke. I'm a filmmaker and writer in Scotland, and I use my degrees in English and film to analyse video games from a more narrative-driven perspective so that we can better appreciate the art which we all love. I'm getting good at that. Welcome to my castle. Don't expect everyday logic to work here. It went out the window sometime after midnight. Maybe earlier. My kingdom is not of this world, you see. It lies far outside of concrete, tangible reality. I've tried to identify the way people reach it, and I am convinced it has something to do with the moon. Some say the moon's aura can turn them insane. You've heard the phrases moonstruck and lunatic. The way I see it, moonlight gives them some sublime permission to reveal their true selves. And so, whenever they let the silver radiance guide them to the gates of this place, they feel different. Once they pass the doorstep, they're ready to act out. A dance of horrors and marvels begins. It's 3:31 AM. Welcome to Big Beat Burger. If you're here at this hour, you're not exactly readying up to be a productive member of society come tomorrow morning. More likely, you're praying that the sunrise never comes. Thank you, Tundra. Insatiable children of the night, gather round. To bask in the afterglow of tonight's victories, unwind after a frustrating series of failures, or simply fight to keep themselves together. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting here, greedily reveling in every interaction they have. They have no idea they're only here for my amusement. To them, I'm just some random girl sitting in the corner. Gender! But this is my domain. I've been coming here almost every night for years. I know where to sit, where to look, and where to eavesdrop for maximum amusement. I'm basically a voyeur, and unashamed to admit it. It gave me insight about the human condition I never otherwise have gathered, and more importantly, a necessary skill set to make ends meet as a journalist. As I write on my crappy old laptop, patiently waiting for the legion of negative voices in my head to get too tired to offer useless feedback, I keep my senses peeled to pick up stories around me. Hope everyone's having a good NaNoWriMo. Of course, a lot of regular events are just food fights, and nothing to write home about, aside from my unfortunate tendency to become collateral damage in someone else's battle. Up to this day, I've had to wash my clothes because of Coke, Diet Coke, hot coffee, apple pie, and some sort of, improvised honey mustard bomb? Every stain tells a different story. Sometimes this hobby is exhausting. Sometimes it's disturbing. Sometimes it's dangerous, although not as risky as back when I wasn't carrying pepper spray. Still, the sights I've taken in over the years here have made it absolutely worth it. I've got so many stories, I don't know where to begin. Real quick, I'm going to move the camera because I remember an issue that we used to have. Not the Kofi. Up to here. Because I remember an issue that we used to have. Come on, Adric. You can hang out here in the bottom right. He looks comfy down there. Actually, wait. Could I put Adric on the in-game chat box? That doesn't look awful, but that's not always going to be there, so... There we go. Theatrical breakups, impromptu mourning parties, unexpected friendships forged in the fire of a senseless battle. A lady in gorgeous Givenchy dress ordered a box of takeout chicken nuggets, paying in cash with her hands completely covered in blood. She also asked if she wants a napkin. She said no. Two thirsty macho dudes shamelessly going for it in the corner, hushed moaning filling the lobby, while everyone around valiantly fights to act as usual and maintain an illusion of normalcy. A straight-up kung fu fight between a diminutive cashier and some drugged bodybuilder going through a psychotic episode trying to break all the windows. The big guy left the joint fully convinced he KO'd himself while the service worker was just standing next to him. Seemed proud of his victory too. A middle-aged hag getting a heart attack after screaming her lungs out. Not to let Muslims near her food just because she saw a white girl wearing a hairnet behind the counter. A masked couple robbing the restaurant of 30 hamburgers, forcing the employee to cook at gunpoint. Police said they were art students reenacting some hipster book they read. This is life. This is humanity at its worst and its best. This is the noise that serves as the foundation for my creativity. This is the soma that keeps me going. This is... As pathetic as it may sound, these days this is the only place where I feel alive. Sometimes I think of myself as a leech feeding on these people's stories, emotions and personalities just because I'm not satisfied with mine. At times I think of my psyche as some kind of shitty postmodern construct that is fundamentally incapable of honesty, but only yearns for something felt and truthful. Does this even make sense? I look at the screen of my laptop. 3:47 AM. At this point, I'm almost completely... that. But nothing interesting has happened yet. Feels like all the customers are watching each other tonight, hoping for the others to provide a fun diversion. This is my turf, parasitic douchebags. Next time, go find your own. I think it's time to call it a night. The coffee I always ordered so they don't kick me out is undrinkable. Ugh. I reread the rough draft I've been working on the last 6 hours. God damn, this is pure trash. I hold the backspace button until the Google Documents page is nothing but a calm white slate and let out a sound of deep relief. There's no pleasure more intoxicating for a frustrated writer than raging on someone even worse than them, and what target is easier than the dumb bitch he used to be 10 minutes ago? I checked the time again. I need to go. I have an important meeting tomorrow at 10 AM, and I have a hunch it's not going to end well. And it's not because I'm an irresponsible dumbass who's going to need to get a few cups of coffee to simply function on a basic level despite like 4 hours of sleep. It's because I always have a hunch things are not going the way they're supposed to. Click, clack, click, clack, click, click, clack. The loud clatter of keyboards assaults me from all sides. Makes a splitting headache unbearable. Used to be, I dreamed of nothing else but being part of the New York Loadstar editorial team. It was the first magazine I started reading regularly. The first magazine I ever bought for myself. Now simply hearing the word Loadstar is enough to ruin my mood, never mind seeing all these old farts phoning me in more reactionary opinion columns and Wikipedia-level analysis of current events. Wikipedia is a fine source. They used to destroy and rebuild my entire worldview every month. They shaped my thinking about politics, art, journalism. They even pointed me towards my favourite cigarette brand, for God's sake. Then some talented people started leaving for greener pastures. Some got too wrapped up in their own neuroses, some became complacent. All of them committed the sin of allowing themselves to grow older. Fresh blood was deemed unnecessary, even though young freelancers kept being bled dry. These days, whenever someone from outside Loadstar talks about Loadstar, it's because there are a few idealistic contributors willing to accept a meager pay while putting in serious work. Dumbasses. Other than that, the magazine specializes in publishing pale echoes of provocative ideas. I heard somewhere else a few years prior wrapped in an aesthetic that hadn't been cutting edge for decades. No wonder the readership's in a free fall. But even though the ship is sinking, the old guard won't let it go down without a fight. And if anyone from the outside attempts to board the vessel in hopes of fixing its course or its holes, they will be swiftly taken care of. I should know. Been there. Done that. As it stands, the only full-time staff member who doesn't make me regularly attempt to cringe my face off with his writing. Brian. Is Lodestar's editor-in-chief Brian... Oh, wait, I'm in front of my the faces, aren't I, up here? There we go. Always the fun of a new game of figuring out where the camera's supposed to go. Is Lodestar's editor-in-chief Brian and how do you say that last name, NG? The man sitting in front of me right now. Of course, he only has time for editorials these days. A drop in the sea of needs. Managerial duties hit him hard. It's the second time he let out a theatrical cough like this. He said his piece, now it's up for me to react, and I'm coming up blank. But what do you want me to say, Brian? I'm pissed off. I can tell you've already made up your mind, but you still want me to go through the motions just to make it feel like just to make me feel listened to. Whatever, let's do this. You're protecting a complete piece of shit here. I need to figure out where oh wait, I remember now. Hang on. Now look, I know my article sounds like a character assassination, but it's just because the guy gave me enough ammo to make him look like Swiss cheese once the story goes live. My sources are legit, they provided receipts for everything. They faced all kinds of injustice and are crying out for help, so why are you siding with a corporate shithead and not them? Your sources are not the problem here. I never said they were. You're avoiding the core of the issue. No, I believe I pinpointed it in a precise way. If it were up to me, I'd greenlight the article here and now and we wouldn't be having this conversation. But you're killing the article just because some rich shithead told you he doesn't like it. Get real, this is not about a millionaire jerk calling me to make an offer I can't refuse. What is it about then? Because it looks awfully like it's about my bosses telling me this outlet can't afford the legal action when we've already been threatened with. So millionaire interference. I could dress as Julia. Oh, for crying out loud, Julia, don't make me treat you like a child. You know how this works. I publish a story. It's Theo versus Gorka all over again. A lawsuit here, a lawsuit there until we're bled dry. I have a mortgage. I have 3 mouths waiting to be fed at home. I have an amazing team that doesn't deserve to be torn apart over some... Don't you think it's telling you mentioned your mortgage first? Silence. Just asking questions. I know better than to get into these empty semantic arguments with you, Miss Savonsky. You're good at them. The problem is, you're still not good enough. Meaning? You're too in love with wearing a good story and establishing a seductive narrative to let facts get in the way. Weaving. We've got enough boring Swedes with no principles and on board these days. They always give you facts because that's all they can do. I'm using facts as a way to approach some kind of truth. Except facts can blindside you, and Double Spiral has enough facts to water down your story to the point where it makes no sense to publish it. Their HR and PR team are working overtime to deliver a convincing counter-narrative, and they're doing a great job. Won't mitigate the damage completely, but will put every little thing in question. Jesse Montgomery is a racist, a fraud, a sexual predator, and a downright satanic fuckhead. Julia. Let me say it again. Jesse Montgomery is a racist, a fraud, a sexual predator, and a downright satanic fuckhead. Do you personally believe it or not? This is not... You've listened to the tapes, you've read the transcripts, you've seen the documents, you've got the files. I'm asking for your personal opinion. Do you believe it or not? Of course I do, but that's besides the point. It's not. Look, how about I just say it out loud and save us both some time? We're not having this conversation because there's an actual conversation to be had. You set up this meeting knowing very damn well there's only one way it's going to end. You've got a mortgage and 3 mouths to feed. You prioritize the well-being of your direct surroundings over some nebulous concept of greater good. I get it. I really do. Yet for some reason it seems like you're only prolonging this conversation and rationalizing your decision so that I forgive you? Or officially exonerate you? I'm not the bad guy here, Julia. I wouldn't say you are, but it seems to me that you won't be content with me saying just that. To me, it looks like we're having this talk because you're hoping by the end I'll somehow see things your way and call you a good man. He mutters something under his breath, ending with a self-pitying chuckle. If only. I might be protecting my ego here somewhat. That much is true, but I'm not deluded. I know that you're going to call me a scumbag by the time this conversation is over. Oh, come on, don't turn this into a pity party. No, I'm absolutely a scumbag. And why is that? Because I'm firing you. My thoughts are scrambled. For a brief moment, the state of my bank account displays before my eyes with startling clarity. A howling void opens in my chest and starts travelling towards my stomach. No, don't panic yet, you idiot. Get more information. Now there must be a catch. And what about my work? Let me get this straight. Ever since we met, I've been working on stories and pieces no one else in your office would touch with a 10-foot pole. Constantly interviewing total nobodies, always busy travelling to the middle of nowhere or regretting my last trip, repeatedly ordered to clean up someone else's mess. Julia. All your long-winded spiels about how the disposable work is the most important work, and suddenly you only remember the disposable part? My feelings about the quality of your work remain the same as ever. It was vital. It kept the magazine going. I will always appreciate it. Then why would you threaten to fire me? I would never threaten you. It's a done deal. They've made their decision perfectly clear. Thank you, Voverly. They? What they? Who is they? I'm they, Julia. He glances left and right, and then points upwards for a short moment. When he speaks again, it's in a hushed voice. You know, the big kahunas. Can't really question them, and they wanted your head on a silver plate. He's not looking me in the eye. You're not joking. I would never joke about stuff like this. It's real. Fucking hell, it's real. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, all the hell. All these years, all this grind, all my plans, and for what fucking asshole? And for what? Fucking asshole, you know I deserve better, and I always deserve better, and it always ends with me going down the drain back to the sewers. Fuck! No. Take a few deep breaths. Don't lose the plot now. Keep yourself together, you idiot. The moment you show weakness, they go for your throat. Get back in control. You can't do this. I wish I didn't have to, but it's a lost cause. No, I mean it's impossible. Julia, you can't fire someone who's never been hired in the first place. He takes a few seconds to put on his "oh, I get it" face, let out a troubled gasp, and start massaging his temples. Lodestar had been my biggest source of income for the past few years, that much is true, but technically nobody had ever hired me here. It was all freelance jobs. A full-time position only served as a kind of dangling carrot, a promise of decent pay grade, career perspectives, maybe even some kind of insurance to save my failing health. And the recognition I would get for being part of the Lodestar team, a position that everyone around me seems to respect, aside from me. Why did I want it so much? There will be time to mourn what could have been. For now I should act like I don't care. You know what I mean. If I let you work, even under a fake name, it would be a guillotine for me. This is ridiculous. You know I'm going to start shopping the story around the second that I leave the room, don't you? Thanks for the Skydrake course! Of course I know. I told them. And the stretch. Any response? Let us worry about that. Well, that doesn't sound ominous at all. I do wonder if I could get accustomed to one of these loud mechanical keyboards some people here love to use. I hate mechanical keyboards. Whatever, I did my work in here. It was still expected to bring my own crappy top and sit closer to the lobby. Always on the outside, no matter how hard I try to break in. A vibration in my back pocket feels like a bad omen. I decide to ignore it for now. I've been working on this fucking story for, I don't know, 16 months on and off? I know. You kept cheering me on. I know. We've even agreed on the pay I'd receive. I know. I'm 2 months behind on my no, wait, 2.5. I catch him off guard. He's momentarily taken aback and then gives me an empathetic stare. Don't you look at me this way. You don't have the right. I didn't know. Well, now you do. Look, if there's anything I can do to help, if you can't tell your big kahuna stuff fuck off, I don't think there's a single thing. Julia, I pull out a smoke and light it up. Gotta get back in control. Please don't do that. There's a smoke detector here. No worries, Nick. Turned it off a few weeks ago. Probably the most creative thing he's... Don't worry, Nick turned it off a few weeks ago. Probably the most creative thing he's done in the past 5 years. Good old Nick. The perfect 21st century cinema reviewer. Never had an original thought of his own, just relies on his purely algorithmic taste to stay likable. And the best thing is, it works. Funny, I used to dream about his job. It was Brian who killed this dream, making me realize Nick won't be unseated anytime soon and offers to teach me the ways of an investigative journalist instead. Wasn't the career I ever wanted to pursue, but to my dismay, I turned out to be surprisingly good at it, until the Montgomery thing happened. Served me right, lesson learned, should have pursued my dreams instead. Stop it. Nicholas is a good friend, a respected critic, a member of my team, and put out that smoke. People tell me I let you step all over me. Why do I let you act this way? Because you once told me honesty is more important in a mentor-student relationship and it works both ways. And because I thought we were friends. He bites his lip and stares sideways to avoid my eyes. At the end of the day, bosses aren't friends. Must have been a terrible mentor if I didn't teach you that. The best I can do for now is to just stay silent. I don't feel too stable right now, like I could explode any second. Julia, I might have failed as a guy, but I will do what I can to not leave you stranded, okay? There are options. None of them are a remedy for your troubles, but... Ugh, wait a second. Another vibration in my pocket, another foreboding feeling. This time I reluctantly take the smartphone out of my pocket. If it has to rain, why not let it pour? A new email. It's a lengthy one. And the sender? Speak of the devil. No. No, this can't be. Christ. I just got an email from Mila Lopez. She claims she's just been laid off from Double Spiral, same as Mike Antov and Jared Riviera. What? What happened? I'll spare you all her insults, okay? The key thing is, it seems that their HR knows all the confidential information about my journalistic investigation and used it to shut everyone's mouth. Thank you for the resub, lovely scientist. Enjoy the 18 months. Hell, apparently Montgomery walked up to Lopez as she was emptying her desk and told her to thank me for being, quote, a dumb and careless cunt. Brian goes pale. I think he has a very good reason to. You fucking scumbag. You outed my sources. What? Well, of course not. What are you even saying? Oh, don't you dare play coy. It must have either been you or me, no one else, and you know the way I work. My investigation was basically untraceable, both on and offline. Carefully picked meeting spots, encryption upon encryption, every direct quote rewritten 5 times just in case, all sorts of red herrings scattered around. I know my shit, you know I do. And that's timing? Did you just pass a flash drive to your beloved Big Kahunas during a meeting as a sign of goodwill? Look, I get you're upset, but why don't we just talk this through calmly? Fury takes the wheel and I'm just along for the ride. I can't do anything about it. In a deranged way, realizing you're just a passenger in your own body feels liberating. Let's just see it all unfold. Calmly? Fuck you, Brian. Julia! I've been paranoid for months and months, acting like everyone I didn't know was an assassin or a corporate spy. I know I haven't messed up, not in a way that would implicate all of them. You thought you could get away with this. I haven't done anything improper, don't put the blame on me. So what, you're claiming it's my fault? Because you're never the guilty one, it's always the bosses, the economy, the obligations you have, and now me? You're being silly. Quit with this martyr bullshit. Calm down or I'll have to... You immoral shithead. You motherfucking... Calm down, for God's sake. And so it goes. Yeah, a lot of words I wanted to say for a long time, but held back. I fling a lot of insults I've been workshopping for years, hoping I'd never use them. I break a few things. At times, for a split second, I see pity in somebody's eyes. It's gonna haunt me for a long time, but in the heat of the moment, I don't really care. These people, no, this company, has nothing left to offer me, so at least let me take this catharsis. In the end, the security guard has to escort me out of the building, and that's the end of my journalistic career. I just feel like my world has crumbled into nothing. I mean, You have every right to. Like, Jesus, if I were you, I would have already broken down into a sobbing mess. I'd love to, but I'm on a subway, far too proud to cry in public, even now, and it's stupid, but I feel like someone out there keeps destroying everything I hold dear, just to see my reaction. Like it was a prank show and someone was waiting to record me crying. So out of sheer spite, I'm doing my best not to cry. Fuck you, whoever and wherever you are. That's the most Julia Savonsky thing I've heard. Spite as the greatest motivator, huh? Not feeling particularly motivated to do anything right now. To be honest, I just want to stay in my bed until my shithead landlord calls the cops to forcibly evict me. Not surprised. Shit, I know that's whenever life decides to fuck you over, it's always one thing after another, but this is too much. How much is too much? Let's recap the last week of June 2019. I've been kicked out my job. Well, not that I've ever been hired, so let's just say my mentor broke every vague promise he ever made to me. A big thing I've been working on for a year and a half went down the toilet. It's all useless. My bosses didn't protect my sources properly, and now they keep trying to reach me through every possible channel to threaten me or just yell at me. And they have every right to react like that. All of my side gigs were shut down. Nobody's replying to my emails. Someone's been dragging my name through the mud behind the scenes, and it worked. I still have no idea who's sending these shitty messages around. I've been asking, but... Listen, don't worry about it. I'm not going to stand idly by and watch you get cancelled by some mean-spirit delusional... I said don't worry about it. I have 3 unread messages from my landlord. The message previews were stressful enough. Call came from Chicago. Apparently Dad has bladder cancer. Mum's in hysterics. She'd go crazy if she heard about my situation, so I have to pretend everything's okay whenever she calls. And she calls every day, and she won't hang up before she offloads all her burdens on me. And I can't blame her, because we all had to learn how to cope with Dad's psychopathic tendencies somehow. I was robbed, all my documents and what little money I had gone. Don't even know when or where it happened, and it's driving me crazy because I'm always extremely wary of pickpockets. The list goes on. Man, Julia has a shit life! I don't want to sound paranoid, but it really feels like a concentrated attack. Paranoid's good. Anyway, I know you always hand-wave this topic away, but just remember that if anything happens, my place is your place. You don't have to get through it alone. I do. I'm a trouble magnet and as self-centered as I may be, I don't want it to affect you. I know. Listen, I have another call. Alright, just call me if anything happens, no matter how dumb it seems, okay? And swing by whenever you can. I will. Thank you. See you. I put my phone away, exhale and blankly stare in front of me. Christ. I glance at my reflection in the window. Just look at this idiot. Whenever this situation requires me to dress formally, I still feel a bit like a child cosplaying as an adult. Should have just followed the dress for the job you want advice and continued dressing up like a trust fund kid who keeps partying on Brooklyn rooftops for years without a care in the world. It's only after a while that I realise the car is empty. And naturally so. I start feeling uneasy, but someone enters my peripheral vision. Do you think she's a vampire? And that's the last thing I consciously register. The world dissolves. When I come to, I'm out of the subway, standing in a back alley I don't recognise. Pretty dark. My eyes start adjusting and I try to figure out what happened. There's a gun in my hand. A faint silhouette at my feet. It's not moving. Somebody stands in front of me, covered in shadows. I can't fully make out her face, but she's staring at me with visible intent. She speaks. Her voice is raspy and androgynous. Her tone hateful and mocking. Aren't you a nasty one? What's going on? Who are you? Don't play coy. My mind goes blank. I look at the ground. There's a body riddled with bullet holes. And I recognize who it is. Was. The corpse belongs to Mike Antoff, one of Double Spiral's whistleblowers. My source. He was just threatening to get back at me a few hours ago. But before I can even feel the tiniest bit of compassion, I face a terrible realization. They'll think I'm guilty. Oh my god. Am I guilty? How is this real? You've done something to me, haven't you? Back in the subway. That was you, wasn't it? A man is bleeding out at your feet and you're turning this around on me somehow? I haven't done anything to him. Again, don't play coy. You knew him. He was mad at you. You started telling him some sob stories about your situation. He wasn't having none of it. You got mad. Things escalated. He died. This isn't true. It's plausible, but that doesn't make it true. Or does it? This is just a nightmare. It doesn't even make sense. It must be a dream. And if it isn't, the person in front of me must be responsible. There's a faint voice in my head screaming that it's her world and I'm just living in it. What the fuck have you done to me? Nothing yet, but I'll do what I can to get you locked up for life. This is a murder in the first degree with special circumstances. Her detached voice and nonsensical tone only reassure me that this can't be real. I refuse to believe it is. Before I even manage to think this through, I point the gun at her. If I did murder him, you wouldn't be acting like that. You wouldn't be standing in front of me, you'd be running away, calling the police, begging for help, yelling that I'm a psycho. Oh, you are a psycho, but I'm not a coward. I won't let you walk out of here alive. This doesn't make a single lick of sense. Tears well up in my eyes. Why are you doing this? Because sometimes one has to confront what they're really made of. There's no two ways about it. She's gotta be nuts. Slowly but surely, she starts walking towards me. Stop right there, or I'll shoot. Go on. It's the only way you can get off the hook, isn't it? The only way you can survive. But you'll definitely prove you're the monster I claim you are. What the fuck is this tone? So controlling, inauthentic, and patronizing. I'm serious. For your own sake, you better be. She keeps getting closer. Maybe I did kill Antonov. Maybe I don't deserve to live. Maybe it's less tiring not to live. Maybe I should just let her take care of me. Maybe I'll just wake up. Maybe this insane reality needs to be rejected as violently as possible. Maybe a world that wants to destroy me deserves to be destroyed. She's right in front of me. It's now or never. I close my eyes and squeeze the trigger. A loud bang echoes through the alley. I'm afraid to look at what I've done. I've been to a shooting range once and felt absolutely horrified by pistols. Such a small thing, but it can easily puncture a hole in the fabric reality is made of. Never knew I'd be able to use it against another human being. The very thought makes me want to puke. You were a right choice after all. I'm so glad. You haven't allowed yourself to break, but you've crossed the line I needed you to cross. There's a silent flame in you that could become an inferno if left unchecked. I sure hope it will. She's still alive. Her voice is coming from behind me. She puts her hands around my waist and her cold mouth touches my neck. I can feel my shirt getting violently torn off. I don't understand, but I'm too dazed to protest. This was your final test. Congratulations. You've proven yourself worthy. I can feel something sharp sliding into my neck. It's not too painful, just startling. Think a doctor pushing a needle into your vein without a proper warning. Then it hits me. Pure bliss. The dopamine receptors I've considered completely fried until now suddenly recover and start bombarding me with pleasure I've never known before. I finally let the tears go. They come flooding. They've been waiting for years. It's such a relief. Is it raining? I feel like I was in the middle of a deluge at least, washing away all of my fears, all of my sorrows, all of my anger, all of my pain, all of my ego. I became one with the world and the woman behind me. She's holding me tight, making me feel like the only important thing in the world. Everything else blurs. I feel something intense towards her, something I've never felt before. Is this love? I hope it is. This is not you, hisses a familiar, cynical voice in the back of my head. But it's okay. I never felt particularly fond of me anyway. New York, you're perfect. Oh, please don't change a thing. He who laughs in the shadows always has the last laugh. Hallelujah, praise be. When everything is cliche, nothing is. Isn't that the ever-distant utopia I've been chasing all along? People on the other trains, I hope you're doing fine. God, shut up. Just enjoy it. You finally understand. She's making love to me. She's giving birth to me. She's burying me. I'm pretty sure I've been dead for a while. I'm pretty sure I could stare at my own corpse in her hands from a distance, for a moment somehow. And then I'm alive again. She lifts her mouth from my neck. No, wait. I taste blood in my mouth. Was I drinking her blood too? I realize that whatever this was, it's over, and I have to bask in the afterglow while I still can. I also immediately understand that I'm going to chase this fleeting feeling for the rest of my existence. Finally, she lets out a whisper which concludes the ceremony. No matter what happens next, don't forget, you're a monster. But you were lucky enough to be born into a world of monsters, so don't ever mourn that fact. Embrace it. I'll be honest, I expected a longer cutscene. That was steamy. Once again, I find myself in Big Beat Burger. Familiar surroundings, faces I recognize. I love Skye spooky storytelling games. I'm glad you enjoyed them. I hope you enjoy my dramatic readings. Am I a vampire yet? Yep. Oh baby, I've always been a vampire. Familiar surroundings, faces I recognize, mood same as it ever was. Still, I process it in an entirely different way. It all frustrates me now. Or, more precisely, makes me frustrated with myself. It's like I'm clinging to the remains of a cocoon I've outgrown. Ugh. It's the same with these cigarettes. I don't need them anymore, so why do I keep holding on to them? Fucking hell, it's like I refuse to accept that I'm something better than I used to be. Vampire. Just 2 nights ago I met Karine. She embraced me, by which I mean she turned me into a kindred. She calls herself my sire, me, her child. Last night she taught me the basics of survival, drinking blood, manipulating humans, bending steel, controlling shadows. Tonight I expected more lessons, instead she just told me to go out and enjoy myself. What's the catch, I asked, to which she responded, I might kill you if you prove to be a disappointment. There's a few rules I have to uphold. The Masquerade. I can't contact anyone I knew as a human, I can't let anyone realise I'm not human anymore, I can't embrace anyone, and so on. Otherwise, I'm free to do whatever I want. But for some reason, the first thing I did was come back here. Old habits die hard. Karine's probably watching me from somewhere even now. The way I understand it, tomorrow night she's supposed to introduce me to the Camarilla, a local society of vampires. Turns out they're the ones who've been systematically ruining my life lately. All part of some secret evaluation I barely passed. Just imagining the reach they have makes me dizzy. After they destroyed the old me that I barely cared about, Karine rebuilt me anew. On one hand, her tests left some scars that will take time to heal. On the other hand, maybe I should just be grateful. I'm snapped out of my thoughts by a sudden scream. Some douchebag yelling about his french fries not being salty enough. I think this is my cue to leave. Permanently. Goodbye, Triple B. Hope I never see you again. I'm destined for greater things, you see. So Julia's kind of a cunt. Dance Macabre. There's a local club that hosts a night called Dance Macabre. So let's go do that. This is the same club as the first game. The club reeks of death and I love it. I've been here quite a few times, but I've never seen anything this breathtaking. Everyone around me is whacked out of their minds and they keep dancing madly. The spirits dance beside them. Spectral silhouettes fade in and out of existence, becoming more visible the more intense the music grows. It looks like a bizarre ritual, a profane mass. I notice it's the voice samples the ghosts react to the strongest. The most suggestive ones cause them to appear distorted, even tormented. Oh, she's Malkavian, isn't she? It's as if something was struggling to be born at the harsh sounds, and the dead were hoping to be reborn alongside it. They're all uneasy, quivering with desire for something far beyond their reach, probably the same as when they were alive. Sometimes the living dancers spot their dead counterparts. It's usually the most manic ones who notice something out of the corner of their eye, for only a split second, but never realize what they've glimpsed. Some apparitions dance to a completely different tune than the rest of us. Only one they can hear. Those seem the saddest. The spectacle is eerie. At times it's unbearably melancholic. Above all, it's beautiful. I keep on moving to the rhythm until I reach a trance-like state. Then something even stranger happens. Every now and then, when I brush against someone, a fragmentary vision appears before my eyes. A car burning on a freeway, an outstretched hand in the depth of the sea, a man jumping out of a skyscraper window. Memories of the past? Preventable visions of the future? I have no idea what it means, but I'm strangely eager to find out. Hello! And then there are dancers like her, ones that aren't ghosts, humans, or even vampires, but something else altogether. This new world is full of mysteries, and I plan to get to the bottom of them all. But for now, I just want to dance. Oh, we're discovering our traits. He lowers his eyes awkwardly, thinking about how to proceed with his rant. Dumb dude. So it's like, the conversation isn't really smooth yet. It's like, I keep throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks, but nothing seems to stick for so long. You understand, yeah? It's really this lack of context that's killing me about online dating. It's bad enough when a few photos and a single sentence are all you have to rely on when you're starting a conversation, yeah? When a cosmic miracle God, this guy's a wanker. But when a cosmic miracle finally happens and she's actually willing to keep replying to you and she's actually down to meet up eventually and you're out there sitting with her, and after 90 minutes you still don't have that shared context, just no clue whatsoever, it's just like, take me out and put a bullet in my head and put me out of my misery. So it's just one of those dates. It's like, we've been sitting here for ages and the only thing she has a prolonged interest in is getting hammered as possible. Just one drink after another. And then the more drunk she is, the more familiar she's getting. It's these little things, you know? Touching my upper arm after each joke, her arm around my shoulder, her jokingly punching my waist. This escalation's subtle but steady. In addition, one recurring topic appears, and this is all this cool shit she had and wishes she could have shown me. Oh, too bad it's all back in her apartment. That's when it hits me. She wants to sleep with me. Yeah, well, eventually we both run out of ideas for topics that could potentially be interesting for both of us, so I'm just like, yeah, I'd love to see the crap at your apartment. So we Uber there, and it's admittedly a pretty nice apartment. Like, nothing too fancy, but I don't know why he's gay in my mind. But I can tell her dad is the kind of asshole I'd like to punch in the face if I met him, you know what I mean? So she guides me to the kitchen and makes me some tea, this rare Indian blend. Forget what it was 5 minutes later. Then she excuses herself and goes to the bathroom and doesn't come back. 10 minutes later, I run out of tweets to read and become a little concerned. I start looking around and the first thing that catches my eye is the kitchen table. The table's surprisingly large and it's covered in neatly arranged documents, like some connect the dots investigation board, mafia conspiracy kind of thing. Naturally, I take an interest. It takes me 20 seconds to process what it is. Her entire mental health history, sorted chronologically, with all the juicy stuff neatly underlined in colour, and I mean entire. It's all in there. A detailed description of her fucked up household situation over the years, anxiety, ADHD, bouts of depression, suspicions of schizophrenia, severe PBD, some psychosexual stuff with her brother. I keep reading and reading, and remember what I said about throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks? I'm dead certain that's how her shrink went about diagnosing her. She finally comes out of the bathroom like an hour after she went in. And at this point, I've read all this shit on the table 3 times, and not just the stuff she's highlighted for my convenience. And I feel like right now, I understand her better than, like, someone who reads Crime and Punishment understands that guy. Raskolnikov. I'm not happy about that, like, at all, you know what I mean? She walks in with a cheerful, "Hi." I respond with a slick, "All good?" She nods, does this weird finger gun thing, and chuckles. Pretend I've been doing work-related stuff on my phone the whole time. The small talk starts. A minute later, she casually picks up the documents on the table and starts doing these super obvious body language cues that are like, "Oh no, how did this get here?" Practically dying inside, but I put on my cool face and make it look like I'm not here. Sorry, gotta reply to my boss. Yeah, he's working 24/7. Psycho motherfucker. Yeah. She slowly collects all the documents, puts them away, and then nonchalantly asks me about Tame Impala while I'm feeling crushed by all kinds of the trauma I've learnt about. I love how he reads, like, her problems, and he's like, how can I make this about me? The apartment starts feeling like a coffin. All of a sudden, she picks up... Also, are we on a date with this guy, and he's talking about another date he was on? All of a sudden, she picks up a kitchen knife and starts playing with this zoned out stare. I'm fucking mortified. So what do you think I did? You slept with her? Of course I slept with her. That's how the worst 6 months of my life began, and I couldn't even say I didn't see it coming. God, I'm such a slut. He leans back and groans while hiding his face behind his palms. I look at his neck. Every vein seems so visible and impossibly alluring. I don't think I've ever looked at anyone's neck like that. I realize I feel insanely thirsty. Damn. I know. You sure took a turn. Years ago, when this rant began, it was about continental philosophy. What? Sorry, can you say that again? He's pretty drunk, barely able to focus on anything but his current train of thought. Just what I was hoping for. Years ago when... Never mind. Listen, it's stuffy in here. I want to go out and get some fresh air. You haven't touched your drink. I mean, I would if I could. No more alcohol for me. What? No, this one's not mine. I mean, some dude bought it for me, but I don't want it. He scans the room with a death stare, looking for the guy who did it, not realizing his best chance of finding him is in a mirror. Then he drinks like half of my glass at once while looking around as if he was hoping to prove his dominance over an unseen enemy. Okay, after you. We're walking across a mostly empty street. He's focused on keeping upright and walking in a straight line. I'm focused on finding a spot where I can drink him up. You seem like bad news. Oh yeah? So why don't you just leave me alone? Determinism, I guess? I roll my eyes, and that's when I notice it. A deep, underlit stairwell. I look around and realize there's no one around. This is my chance. I immediately yank him downstairs. It's almost pitch black, but I can still see his face. He doesn't seem shocked. It's more like awkwardness. Now listen, it's not like I never wanted to do this sort of thing in public. Quite the opposite. It's just that I need a certain degree of comfort to perform at optimal level. Oh, shut up! I sink my fangs into his neck, and he whimpers and becomes silent. That's what I've been waiting for the past hour. He relaxes in my arms, and I relax with him. It's like all the drinks I had to deny myself until now are hitting my head all at once with no unpleasant side effects. I feel radiant. I don't want this moment to end. But it has to. I drop his body to the floor and lick the wound closed, just the way she taught me. His pulse is faint, but steady. He reeks of booze. If anyone finds him, there should be no suspicions. As I walk up the stairwell, I insert a finger into my mouth and try to sense my fangs. No dice. Seems they really are retractable. Well, that's handy. The hunger pangs are gone. No, they're not. They're over there. And the sequel is being worked on right now by Joy Demora. I rub my hands around my body. I feel comfortable, hopeful, happy. Can't remember the last time I enjoyed life like this. Now let's keep this party going. Wow, what a night. I watch Times Square from above. It's beautiful. Never thought this place could make me emotional, to be honest, but here I am, feeling deeply moved. Who would have thought? Getting up here was surprisingly easy, all things considered. It took more thought than physical effort. Earlier tonight I started experimenting with this body's limits. I realised I can jump over small buildings and climb steep walls with ease now. My whole perception of space has shifted. I planned a scenic route across the rooftops. I did my best to avoid attracting attention, just as I was told. Stayed in the shadows as much as humanly possible. I spot a drone from afar. For a second I feel uneasy, but I remember what she told me. Machines won't get a clear view of me anymore. Camera footage, photos, it's all glitched out or blurry. Wouldn't take it for granted if I didn't try to catch my reflection earlier on. I couldn't see my face clearly, not in the mirror, not even in a puddle. My face was like one of Dali's clocks. She told me to keep a low profile regardless. Someone might take note and track you down. She didn't care to elaborate, but it didn't sound encouraging. Suddenly it hits me that I might never be able to see my own face again. I won't be able to take care of my looks by myself. And what about the long-term psychological effects? Lots of anxiety tightens in my stomach. Jesus, this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. What else is going to change? Calm down. Wait a second. These past few nights have been the best of my life. For years I was on a downward spiral, failing health, no future, a feeling of overwhelming powerlessness. Bitch, me too, what the fuck? Now everything has been flipped upside down, a total paradigm shift. Bitch, me too, what the fuck? A bad ending is no longer the only option. I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow. Forgot how that feels. Where it used to stand at mere seconds to midnight, the doomsday clock has been effectively turned off. A cold breeze brushes my cheek. As stupid as it sounds, I choose to read it as the world telling me to chin up. I can bend anyone to my will. I'm capable of superhuman strength. I am a master of shadows. I can do anything. Tomorrow night I'll be introduced to my duties. If everything goes according to plan, I will become a New York City representative of Clan La Sombra. She's La Sombra! Whoever they are, whatever that means. I have no idea what to expect. But tonight is tonight. I'm free. All my worries from a month ago feel like they belong to someone else. Finally, things are looking up. I wonder if a massive pandemic's about to hit New York. What do we think of this game so far? Julia is a very interesting character. In the sense of she is nothing... She doesn't really play like a protagonist. Has anyone kind of noticed that? She plays more like an antagonist. Also, my throat is slightly going, so I might have to cut this stream a bit short. Yeah, I forgot about that from Coterie. It's a fucking lot of reading. Back at it again at Big Beat Burger. Familiar sounds, familiar smells, familiar faces. Yet again, I'm recalling that night when everything finally seemed to change for the better. That's a look. I mean, it's not like I wasn't expecting everything to go back to the old depressing normal. Even in the thick of it, the rational part of me recognized my state as immoral. But with these highs, there's always a hope it won't end. Or maybe that's an ego death. That an ego death will finally occur. Be satisfied, you stupid fucking bitch. I command you. Here's all the logical evidence for why you should be satisfied. Here's the obvious direction for your life. And here's a detailed explanation of how you should treat the people that care for you. No dice, I always fall back into the same old habits. It's like they were encoded deep in my DNA. The aimlessness, the powerlessness, the spiritual exhaustion. These goddamn fast food trips. The stupid fucking self-loathing, now amplified whenever I drink somebody's blood. Maybe I should just blame it all on the misfortune of my birth. You could do this social climbing until you disassociate, and then you're just this untethered, constantly frustrated ball of dumb desires. Except I'm sort of immortal right now, and I need to figure out what to do next. I watched this obscure Asian movie once. Lima Sabachani, starring Terenobu Asano, one of the coolest guys in the world. He plays this Merzbow, like a figure of legendary noise musician. There's this mysterious virus spreading around the world, causing despair and mass suicides. This game's set in March 2020. A rich CEO's granddaughter gets sick and longs to die, so he spends a fortune searching for the cure. I mean, they're probably in London recording their new album. Turns out Osana and his friend, played by this violent onsen geisha guy, are traveling through Japan, searching for the corpse-strewn towns and fields for any unique items that can provide beautiful sounds. And it turns out the avant-garde walls of noise they create are able to heal the infected. The CEO begs the band to help, offering them all the money they want, but for some reason they refuse. Through a series of flashbacks, concerts, and vignettes, a mystery unfolds. Eventually we realise that Asano's music is not just a remedy, it's also the cause of the virus. Whenever it connects with people, they get this hunger for more extreme, more novel experiences. And eventually they hit a wall. Nothing can satisfy them anymore. They lose their will to live. Not even the musicians are spared from this curse. They know the end will come sooner or later. The goal is saved by a mind-blowing concept, but the tragedy is merely postponed, not averted. The last shot of a Jesus-like Asano silently considering his role as a saviour and destroyer stayed with me. The form of the film is abrasive, little to no narrative coherence, some weird, cartoonish creative choices, the Japanese noise soundtrack, the very freeform and hard to understand weave of themes. But at this point, movies like this are all that truly connect with me. I'm the New York City representative of the La Sombra clan now, also known as the Night Clan. They're masters of shadow who can distort reflections and make modern tech go haywire in their presence. Yeah, so the clan La Sombra are like the classical vampire in a lot of ways. We used to be the brains behind the Sabbat, a pretty nasty group working in opposition to the Camarilla. They've since left for the Middle East for the most part, but a sizable chunk of my clan opted out and changed sides. Traditionally, we were entrenched in the Catholic Church back in Europe, but not for mystical reasons. Our path was that of coercion and puppetry, so pulling the strings of important religions leaders was just a means to an end. The Night Clan is also borderline Darwinian in their philosophy about embracing new members. The shittest periods of my life were fully orchestrated by Karine in order to see if I was a good La Sombra material. They don't care for losers who just take it lying down. Then there's the dark. I'm still coming to grips with it, but apparently the shadows aren't just absences of light to us, they're openings into some kind of hell. And we can wield them or even use them to contact the dead. The downside? We share a classic vampire feature in that we don't have a clear reflection. This also transfers to not playing well with cameras and by extension having issues dealing with technology in general. Last year, a few months before I was embraced, the La Sombra had joined with the Camarilla, the biggest and most traditional sect in the vampire world. The two groups actually used to fight each other, but our leaders found some intel that made them reconsider their strategy, so they sent a diplomatic mission to parley with their historical enemies. The deal they got in Chicago was simple. An unlife for an unlife. For every La Sombra vampire allowed in the Ivory Tower, one La Sombra vampire had to meet their ultimate end. I still remember the name of the woman who met her final death, so I could begin my unlife. Her name was Hester Reed, a sworn enemy of the Camarilla, a guerrilla fighter who spent decades opposing them. She was someone with far better principles than mine, from what I gathered. Well, whoever she was, her execution by my sire served to convince the NYC elite to give us La Sombra a chance. Then they set out to look for a mutually agreed upon candidate who becomes the clan's rep in this city. My sire searched for someone who gave the impression she was more than she appeared. The local court was looking for someone they could walk all over. After a long negotiation, they decided I was a good compromise. They proceeded to systematically destroy my entire life just to make show I was psychologically strong enough to join their ranks. The Turncoat Special, they called it. Somehow I succeeded. And it eventually led me right back to where I started. I stopped writing and put my pen down. Valerie, will that be all? Yes, Mr. Val, I hope you enjoy your stay in London. Oh, I very much doubt I will. Just like every cultured person, I think the only good Englishman is a dead Englishman. Must be nice, travelling the world and all that. Caracas, Mogadishu, Shanghai, the blood tastes the same anywhere you go. The biggest difference is that your duties become more of a hassle. Mr. Val, every word you uttered tonight just made you more punchable. That'll be all. Tell Kadir I said hello, and farewell. Safe travels. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, psycho. Ah well. If you watch the previous Coteries of New York stream, you'll recognize Mr. Val and Katia. I'm the lone La Sombra in this town, and my representational role means jack shit. No titles, no parks, no whatever. Right now I'm the court's gopher, doing all sorts of work nobody else will touch. My main duties? Being a sort of immigration officer. See, New York is probably the biggest vampire travel hub in the USA, and definitely the biggest one on the East Coast. Almost every kindred arriving from Africa and Europe comes through here. The local Camarilla is nuts about bureaucracy and population control, so every vampire leaving or arriving is supposed to check with me to inform me about their travels. Well, in theory at least, the VIPs play by their own rules. They take care of this stuff through connections and servants. But for the smaller fish, I'm like a vampire Statue of Liberty. The first bloodsucker every kindred coming to NYC should see. On paper, anyway. The first after the Prince, or Kadir. The Primogen Council. These things vary. Yeah, I'm a naturally traitorous La Sombra, so they still prefer being traditional and hands-on about these things. The Prince is the leader of the local, of the local vampires. And the Primogen Council is the Prince's advisors. As I said, at the end of the day, I'm just a gopher, and this work only serves to remind me I'm not quite in, just standing at the gate. They haven't even given me an office, I just meet everyone in public places, like coffee shops or this fast food restaurant. Some consider this an insult and lash out at me, but luckily, most of them understand we're in the same boat, only here because we're curs who need to be reminded of our place. Speaking of, my last client is 15 minutes late, and I still have more errands to run tonight. This is getting irritating. To be honest, I should just find some self-respect and leave. But I won't. My sorry upbringing left me with a stupid sense of responsibility. 10 more minutes pass. Eventually, an unfamiliar woman appears by the door. She tells someone to stand by the door and walks in. Hello! Long chestnut hair, body stuck in her late teens by the look of it. A fashionable scarf covering most of her face, elegant clothes, dignified walk. I signal her to sit in front of me, trying my best not to let my impatience show. She obliges. You're here to check in? I am. Julia Savonsky, I presume? She's scanning her surroundings like we're at a circus. I hope you won't mind I made it quick. I'm needed in Elysium. Name? Catherine Weiss. Huh. I swear I'd heard that name before. Someone else's description of her crosses my mind. That weird lady who owns the art hole but's never there? Weird? So it is her. Catherine Weiss, the owner of the art hole, de facto headquarters of the New York City Camarilla. Fuck's sake, Julia, what are you doing calling her weird right off the bat? God knows you've already made a fool of yourself in front of enough VIPs in this city. I'm sorry, it's just that I still don't know many people here, so I have to go by descriptions I'm giving by members of the Primogen. Well, the description is mostly correct, outside of that one word that slightly perplexes me, pot calling the kettle black sounds like. Oh, from what I gathered, it's just that your interests are rumoured to be, not fully aligned with the Camarilla, and that irks some folks up there. Being a keeper of the Elysium is not enough for some, I see. I suspected as much, but what can you do? She seems chill. Good. Anyway, Catherine Weiss. Wow. Yes. Want me to spell it? People have often struggled to get it right. Forgive my indiscretion, it's just the people of your stature usually don't bother checking in with me. They usually report their arrival to one of the Primogen and then make all the arrangements. I heard Prince Panhard is busy with the preparations for a big party. I assume that if I was spared of some paperwork, she'd appreciate it as a gesture of goodwill. Besides, I wanted to meet the infamous La Sombra representative out of sheer curiosity. My interest piqued once I heard about her. She looks around knowingly. Unique circumstances. Yeah, Prince Helene Panhard had trouble justifying the exorbitant rent my property would need. That's literally pennies for her, and as far as I know, she's been sitting on an empty property since last year. Looks like they've got it out for you. Bad. Oh, the empty property, as in our former place. That's what I assumed, but it's nice to get confirmation. Well, it's not like my clan's been ever particularly popular in these parts. At least that's what I've heard, sins of the father and so on. Yes, just to make sure you've never met Hester, but you know of her. I do know I wouldn't be here if not for her. Have you two met? No. I only heard of her once or twice. We had similar outlooks on many issues, although we tended to come up with completely different solutions. In any case, I think it's meaningful that Hester died so that you could live. They feared her, now they fear you, and that's what's keeping you down. If anyone who's not a VIP said this to me, I'd laugh in their face. Well, I get what she's doing. She's trying to buy my favours. Best not to act like I'm easy to please. Stick to business. Time will tell. In the meantime, I'll need you to help me out with my documentation. Of course. So where are you coming from? Washington, D.C. She says it the way people in Hollywood movies say it. A way that suggests how Washington is wildly different from the Washington you and I would see. What were you doing there? Take a guess. Government work? Write that down. It'll to amuse Helene a little bit. If you say so, date and hour of arrival. She takes out a plane ticket and slides it towards me. It's all here. 1 AM. Got it. Method of transit plane. Purpose of visit. Meeting with Prince ought to work just fine. I guess. Estimated duration of visit. Undefined. Write in 6 months if you really need to. Place of accommodation. Conditions of intended stay. The art hall. Conditions should be adequate. You tell me, I tend to be happy with Airbnb. Home sweet home? I'm not certain I've ever felt particularly at home here. That makes 2 of us. Curious. Do you have nothing holding you here? The face of a blonde-haired friend appears in my mind, then vanishes. There's nothing holding me anywhere. I see. Prolonged silence. She stared into my eyes and I returned the stare. She's studying me. It's unnerving, but I do my best not to turn away. Eventually she smiles. Didn't you say you were short on time? Oh god, yes, Kadir will kill me. I quickly begin to collect my stuff from underneath the table. You can simply inform him I paid you a visit. He'll understand and will pass it on to everyone who should be in the know. Sure thing. Good. We will see each other soon, I hope. The party's tomorrow night? I wasn't invited. She gives me a pitying look. I understand. If not given the opportunity, if not given the opportunity, we should make our own. I'll be in touch. Good night, Miss Weiss. I wish you a pleasant stay. Good night, and don't rush these things. You've got your whole on life ahead of you, and you're in a position where you can take it easy. Take your time. Get a different perspective. I nod and walk slowly out the door. When I lose sight of the restaurant, I sprint to the subway. Slow night? I wish. You're late again, by the way. I hope you have a good excuse. Kadir al-Assami, the mighty sheriff of New York City, is not happy with me. He's like the enforcer. No wonder. I met him in front of a Elysium 30 minutes later than the time we'd agreed on. Yeah, well, Catherine fucking Weiss decided to arrive surprisingly late. A likely story. She's supposed to be out of the city. If you think I'm pulling your leg, boss, feel free to check my report. I pass him all the official papers, the way I do every other night. Kadir stares me down for a good few seconds, then his steely gaze softens. You're serious? Weiss in McDonald's, with a mask and elegant clothes, surrounded by the smell of french fries and hamburger patties? That must have been the hell of a sight. Technically it was a triple B, not McDonald's, but yeah. God, I made such a fool of myself. First thing I did, I quoted somebody calling her a weirdo. I wanted to die on the spot. Serves you right for walking faux pas, you walking faux pas. I've been trying to teach you to control your tongue, but you never learn. It's a new gaffe every week with you. Still, there's good news and bad news. The good news is, Catherine has a fondness for vampires of humble beginnings. Probably why she decided to see you in your, shall we say, natural habitat. She's one of those rich art scene assholes who seek out working class cred. I did say something about watching your tongue. The bad news is she's very astute, so she can recognize a moron like you straight away. You never stood a chance at impressing her. Oh, shut up. You still need me for anything here? I'll get on it straight away. I wouldn't be standing out here chatting with you if I hadn't taken care of my duties. 30 minutes is all it took to finish preparations for the big party. I'm about to see everyone off. Sorry? Couldn't be helped, I suppose. And it's more your loss than mine. I just wanted some company tonight, and you could really use the chance to appear here on official duties, so everyone can get to know your face. Everyone knows your fast food job isn't going to get you anywhere. You need to do, what do they call it? Hustle? You don't need to tell me about that, but it's not like being paraded around for a bunch of blue-blooded douchebags is. You somehow managed to give me a painful nudge in the back without so much as a hint of visible movement. Language, you fool. They're coming out. Just stand here in silence for 5 minutes and focus on not embarrassing yourself any further. Got it. First two silhouettes appear in the doorway of the art hole. An old man in a wheelchair pushed forward by his young servant. I haven't seen either of them before. Mr. Payne. The night is still young. Hope you find the rest of it pleasant. Payne, the wheelchair? I've heard about him. Anderson Payne. One of American Camarilla's most main connections to the government in Wall Street. Ooh. Disabled in quite a few ways. Needs a servant to communicate. I'll be full of resentment if I was embraced in this condition, but apparently Payne is nothing but grateful for his immortality. He keeps writing fervent defences of the traditions and Camarilla customs. He wordlessly shakes Kadir's hand, but doesn't even deign to acknowledge me. At least his servant gives me a small bow. I return it. They leave. Kadir turns to the next person leaving. High Regent, can't wait to see you in your outfit. Spare me, Sheriff. These fancy dress parties cause me enough suffering without your help. I can only hope you haven't conspired with Helene to embarrass me with this gift. She points to a shrink-wrapped set of clothes she's carrying inside her coat. Kadir smirks briefly. I didn't have to. As you well know, Prince Panhead displays a considerable foresight in the matter of party planning. Yes, if there's one thing she's deathly serious about, it's frivolities. A recognizably mortal quality, especially for a prince. We ought to celebrate it, not oppose it. Don't worry, Sheriff, I'm a big girl who knows her etiquette. I will play your game, amuse the crowd a little bit, and return to my study as fast as possible. Alistair Sturbridge, High Regent of the Chantry of the Five Boroughs, a hero of the Battle of New York, the biggest warlock in town. Could be Prince herself if she didn't have her eyes on a bigger prize. Thing is, nobody knows what that prize is. They only know that it has something to do with the goal of her thaumatology research. Whoever tried to find out what it is failed. Violently. I'm sure you're going to have fun, Miss Savonsky here just informed me that Catherine Wise is back in town. Safe to assume she will join our festivities. You're kidding me. Her negative reaction intrigues me, so I decided to give her another nudge. She told me to send her regards and that she absolutely cannot wait to catch up. Cheeky. A hint of torment on her face is less than I was counting on, but it'll do. Vice. Excellent, I'd love to catch up with her. The barely concealed venom in her voice clearly suggests that, in fact, she'd hate to catch up with her. Yes, it looks like tomorrow night will be very special, but for now, I bid you adieu. And she's gone. Is there some kind of story between Ailing and Vice that I should be aware of? The part about sending regards? It was a bold-faced lie, wasn't it? An innocent one. Overselling someone's courtesies is just good etiquette. You're unbelievable. Well, I doubt High Regent Sturbridge took it as a courtesy, considering she once attempted to call for a blood hunt on Vice. Blood hunts are punishment sentencing a vampire to final death at the fangs of their peers. Wow. Why? I've heard 5 different versions. I have another stream open with comfy Stardew Valley music playing, so hearing it while watching your game is an experience. I've had 5 different versions of the story, and all of them seem plausible. Catherine's relationship with the city is odd, to say the least. But hush for now. He's obviously trying to kill the conversation, and the appearance of Thomas Arturo gives him a perfect way out. Mr. Arturo. Ah, Alazami. Keep up the good work, eh? Of course. Thomas Arturo, an architect by trade. He's a herald, a member of Prince Manhut's inner circle, an eccentric whose thoughts seem to be 10 times faster than his words. Take care on the way to your haven, Mr. Arturo. Ah, yes. He disappears into the night. Well, that was brief. Maybe I should stand in their way. That might force them to properly acknowledge my existence. You severely underestimate their dedication to ignoring whelps like you. And just in case you're serious, I beg of you, don't. I've been meaning to ask you this for a while now, but never had the opportunity. You really hate Arturo's guts, don't you? He carefully measures his diplomatic response. I have no strong feelings about Thomas Arturo whatsoever. Yeah, well, considering you've always listed positives about every local Camarilla representative under the moon, you might as well call him a cunt. Language whelp. And as for Arturo, I will share my opinions about him as soon as I come up with one that sticks for more than a week. A group of kindred emerge from the art hall, rushing towards the street. Only a noble-looking woman stopped next to us. She's wearing a hijab, but curiously enough, doesn't have her hair beneath it. Primogen? But you're rude enough to stare, you quickly notice the cloth served mostly to cover up her horrifying scars. Kadir? Oh, and young Julia. I'll do my best not to stare, because Samira is one of the few NYC Camarilla figures who hasn't been an asshole to me. Still here? Didn't the prince request a clan of the Hunt's council in some matter? Yes, I advised her that no matter how hard she tries, she shouldn't expect me to wear a different costume tomorrow night. She's the Banu Hakim Prinajim. Just like the Sombra, their clan was independent from the Camarilla until relatively recently. However, they negotiated a better deal than we did. They have a Primogen, for one. Hailing from the Middle East, the Banu Hakim are drawn to the presence of justice. The rules must be upheld and every transgression punished. They don't have much say in New York, but the prince often seeks their judgment. It's just good PR. I trust she was understanding. Those are beautiful clothes. Thank you so much. I'm eager to see the outfit you come up with. And how are you, Julia? Have you seen any lights at the end of the tunnel? Same old, Samira. Still wandering in the dark, bumping my shin every 2 steps. Sorry to hear that. I trust you're pestering the prince and your superiors to improve your standing. It's a process. Oh, Julia. You won't achieve anything if you don't keep reaching for it. Kadir, aren't you supposed to teach her the ropes? I'm trying to, Primogen, but with this child, it's always a process. I can only wish you good luck then. Good night, Julia. Good night, Kadir. Good night. Have a safe trip. The yacht hole has to be almost empty by now. You like her, don't you? Stop with your class clown act, whelp. It only serves to reveal deep insecurities. Wow, that's harsh. It's factual. Were I as harsh as you claim, she did tell us both to call Samira, but you're still keeping your distance with that Primogen shit. Watch your profanity. Watch your profanity. Don't project your fantasies onto me. I won't give you a lesson about professional boundaries. But I suspect the way you will eventually learn it will be extremely unpleasant. Am I interrupting something, good folks? Even though I'm constantly pestering him, Kadir's composure is unshaken. His response comes swift and unfazed. Not at all, Mr. Vandervin. Heading back to your office? You know me, my dear sheriff. Where else would I go? Well, that's curious. Even though Carter Vandervin is a Primogen as well, Markavian to be precise, I don't hear Kadir address him as such. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Oh, I will absolutely show up, provided I can, but just in case, I've already apologized for not making it to the prince, simply drowning in work these days. The rhythms, tempo, and intonation patterns of his voice are so familiar. Half of it sounds like JFK, the other half like Barack Obama. I'm not doing that! That's not the voice I'm gonna do. Just like his appearance, it all feels so fake. His old money, of course, comes from a long line of Dutch merchants who originally settled in the New York region, runs a wildly successful law office, rubs elbows with elites of both kindred and kind variants alike. I just realized that's probably a cultural divide. When I see someone with the name of like Carter Vanderlyn, I assume they are like a native of a European country, but for Americans it will be descendants with a strong American accent. He seems perfect in every way, and that's why he's so unnerving. He's a child of Malkov and must be blighted with some affliction, but whatever it is, he doesn't let it show. Hard not to wonder what he's hiding. Celebrations are planned to last all week. Surely you'll find the time. I pray I will, my good man. I pray I will. In case you need to reach me, you know where to find me. Have a good one. He doesn't even register my presence before leaving. Sometimes I think they're all still hoping I'll just go away. As Carter drives away in his limousine, Kadir shakes his head. Fuck me, that was a hard one. You wanted to hear about which members of the New York City Camarilla I dislike the most? Yeah? He shoots me a knowing glance and smirks. Too bad. You're all my dear colleagues, and I deeply respect every single one of them. Sure you do. Wouldn't want to block you out something that locks you out of Mr. Vanderen's legal services, would you, ass kisser? I do expect to find myself in need of a good defense attorney, and when my broken, competent, foul-mouthed assistant finally pushes me over the edge. Rude. Do you still need me here? I need to swing by St. Patrick's tonight. Don't worry, we're almost done. The prince is coming out. The captain's the last person to leave the ship, huh? And there she is, Helen Panhard, the big kahuna, as someone I once knew would call her, the de facto ruler of New York City and a self-professed patron of the arts. Yeah, but she's not, as we know. Kadir, a penny for your thoughts? You should be pleased to hear the High Regent is resigned to her fate, my prince. Mr. Vandervin is decidedly not. I suspect he will be too busy to join the festivities all the week, through. Excellent. She turns to me. Miss Savonsky, weren't you supposed to accompany our good sheriff on his duties tonight? There was an unexpected change of plans. Catherine Weiss is back in the city. Catherine is here? Now that's a welcome surprise. But what does that have to do with you, Miss Savonsky? She said she didn't want to trouble you with all the paperwork regarding her arrival, Prince Panhard. It's been taken care of. Kadir has already been informed of everything. It's certainly a nice gesture, but wait a minute now. Where exactly did you meet her? In a fast food restaurant, my prince. I see. Helene rubs her eyes. Catherine and her love for proletarian amusement. I suppose it will be a source of amusing anecdotes this week. If I want to avoid these situations in the future, it might be a good time to discuss offering Miss Savonsky an office of her own. We'll get to it, eventually. There are more pressing matters at hand. The festivities start tomorrow and there's still so much to do. We make sure the art hall is secure before leaving? Certainly, my prince. Have a good night. Good night, Kadir. Good night, Miss Savonsky. We'll talk about your work soon, don't worry. Of course. Good night, Prince Panhard. A chauffeur escorts her to a limo. There's an awkward silence between me and Kadir until the car disappears around the corner. More pressing matters, huh? Any for your thoughts, Sheriff? I'm certain an image of a keeper of the Elysium stuck in a fast food restaurant will linger in Prince Panhard's mind. You're far closer to your goal than you were a few minutes ago. I'm pretty sure I've heard you say something to that effect a few times now. And I stand by my words. Rome wasn't built in a day, Julia. And as a Camarilla loyalist, don't you think it sucks that the Ivory Tower is so hellbent on disrespecting my clan? They're actually willing to make fools of themselves in the process? We've all had to endure our own hazing rituals, but yes, the current situation's not ideal. Whatever. You need a hand closing up the Elysium? I'll manage. It's getting late. Better run. Some shadow in Chicago is probably impatient to get a copy of the reports you've given me. You've pleased one master, now it's time to please the other. Yeah. Here's the thing about working for two masters. Neither of them really think of you as their own. Not knowing how to reply, Kadir shrugs. I wave to him goodbye and head for the subway. When I reach St. Patrick's Cathedral, I'm greeted by a voice that grates on me like teeth on tinfoil. Well, the prodigal daughter returns. Oh my god, no. This is the one thing I didn't want to happen. Julia, please. Thou shalt not take the name of thy the Lord thy God in vain. Uh-huh. Where's Father Leonard? His clergy duties kept him from getting here on time. He sent me to apologize in his name and keep you company for a few minutes. That's the second thing he ought to apologize for. He just wants his flock to live in unity. I'm more than willing to oblige him. Why won't you? For the last time, I'm not part of his flock. We have a purely professional arrangement. I know you see it that way. The Knights clan's tendency to stick close to the Catholic Church is their greatest virtue, but they still consider the relationship purely instrumental. This is why we need kindred like you to bring the spiritual change to your clan. that make them understand God's precious gifts. The closer they get to the light, the greater their shadows will become. Again with his insufferable ceremonizing. Benoit Segal here is a local nutjob and ex-artist. A degenerate who had some sort of complete mental breakdown in the 90s. To recover, he took religion for solace and guidance. Oh, he's Toreador. At first, he proclaimed his readiness to devote the rest of his undying life to Nodism. After a few years, though, he changed his mind and joined the Catholic Church instead. As luck would have it, his neophyte zeal found a major target in me. When I first met him, I was stupid enough to tell him I was raised Catholic and still identified as such. Somewhat. He immediately pictured me as some sort of force for change within the Camarilla, and set out to put me back on the righteous path. Now he won't stop preaching to me, apparently, until I become a nun. Remember, the darkest place is directly beneath the candle. You turncoats have this unfortunate predisposition to find salvation right within your grasp and then lose your way in the shadows. Just once he starts, he just won't stop. Guess it's time to bring out the big guns. By the way, I was meaning to ask, got any news about Sophie Langley? Anyone who watched the previous stream should recognize that name. A painful grimace crosses his face, but doesn't linger. Kind of rude to change the subject, you know. Rude? I'm just looking for a topic both sides of this conversation would care about. You know, like any guide on etiquette says you should. Salvation is a topic close to anyone's heart, whether they admit it or not. It's pretty bold of you to assume I still care about Langley. I do not assume. I'm certain you do. The second she retires from the public eye, you stop acting like Jesus-era Kanye and start acting like Jesus is King-era Kanye. Coincidence? Never seen a Jesus-era. Do people really call it that? Here's how it's gonna work. Tell me what you know, and I'll tell you what they say. And keep in mind, I didn't know she was your sire until a few nights ago. I haven't even met her. He winces a bit. He winces a bit at me saying hell, but lets it go. Sure. I figured you would have prodded that one long ago if you knew, but what do you care anyway? Better let you drone on about your tormented past than to let you carry on your missionary shtick. Professional curiosity. Once a journalist, always a journalist. He scratches his head, then exhales in a sad mockery of a chuckle. Fine, I'll do my best to make it short. Just like you said, Sophie Langley, every New York's kindred beloved socialite, was my sire. We met sometime after World War II. I left France right before the Nazis around the Maginot Line. I struggled to keep my siblings alive with my art. I watched my brother die during the flu epidemic, 43. I was close to losing my mind. That's when she showed up. She said sheer torment and my work caught her eye. She became my patron, allowing me my talents to flourish and supplied me financially. Eventually she embraced me. And as a well-off kindred, my artistic interests started to naturally deviate from what they used to be back when I was a poor mortal upstart. I began to see the world the way her social circle does. And that she couldn't forgive. Instead of becoming a fun novelty, it became just another part of the malaise surrounding her. She grew distant, and then stopped seeing me altogether. I've had my share of meltdowns because of this, I won't deny that. I've locked myself out of many career opportunities. It was an important lesson. Don't trust your elders. Vampirism affects them psychologically as well. If they take interest in you, they won't stop until they suck your soul dry and then discard you like a broken toy. For the first instance I've known him, Segal registers to me something other than a Bible-thumping nuisance. Is it compassion I feel? Do I find him relatable? How dreadful. It's possible he's strategically trying to elicit sympathy. Maybe he's heard about my dramatic exit from Lodestar. Or maybe he's just alluring to the way my sire left me here to defend for myself. It is only God who will never lead you astray. There it is. This is why I find your act so frustrating, Julia. You're so close to getting it, but you choose sin instead. There's the Benoit Segal I know. Almost had me fooled. Let me get back on track. What about Langley's disappearance from the city? Her path was a road to perdition. Wherever she ended up, I doubt she's too happy about it. She has plans for the future of the city, wants to make it her ultimate artwork. She was always the vain one. And of course, you're completely sure you have nothing to do with her disappearance. Please don't tell me you're getting at what I think you're getting at. Everyone says you've been acting like you've been trying to repent for something ever since her vanishing act. And you've got a motive. Of course I'm getting at what you think I'm getting at. Benoit shakes his head. You really have the devil in your heart, Julia, always testing me. Just asking what everyone's thinking. Are they now? Listen, I'm familiar with a lot of the insults attached to my name in this city. Those aren't exactly compatible with the image of a ruthless killer. Killer, huh? Now that's interesting. I hadn't said anything about killing. He scrubs his hands over his forehead and collects himself before responding. Stop picking apart every word I say in this completely unpleasant way. Here's a statement if you really want one, Miss Hercule Poirot. I do believe Sophie, the way I knew her, has met her end. Even if she's still walking this earth, she wouldn't come back here as the same prideful aristocrat. She'd have to undergo a spiritual rebirth. Someone has reminded her of her place. Her former friends talk of her in hushed voices. Even that servant play toy of her went missing. No more Camarilla parties. She's done for. That's us, the servant play toy of her. Whatever happened to us in the previous game? I don't know, I swear on Jesus and his sandals, I had nothing to do with it. But yes, I'm still here and she's not, and it's not a reason to gloat, but to be more humble. I received a sign from God telling me to re-examine all the unfortunate ways I still resemble Sophie Langley. And I listened, I rejected the pride I shared with her, I renewed my vows to God, recommitted the preaching of his greatness. I mean, this is why we're having this conversation in the first place. Right now when I think of Langley's influence on my life, I am grateful because she was a sign that got me here. And if God wills it, maybe one day you'll look at her the same way, Julia. Mental note, whenever he circles back to this preachy tone, it's time to intervene. Alright, if it makes you feel any better. I think the only way a wimp like you could have hurt her was by boring her to death with Bible quotes. Now then, quid pro quo, tit for tat, you were saying people still talk about me. I was curious if... Oh, look who's finally here! Stalling for time worked. Father Leonard rushes in our direction, carrying a folder of documents under his arms. I assume it's the one I came here for. Father Leonard. Christ be praised, Julia. Yesterday I was told that this is how priests greet their parishioners in Eastern Europe. Forever and ever, amen. Actually, I think we said each other's lines. Never mind. Another long night, isn't it? Taking a toll on you? No need to worry. These days I sleep a few hours a day. Short naps take care of the rest. There's always work to be done. I apologise for being late. At least I managed to get here before you and Benoit went for each other's throats. God, I was getting worried. Oh, who do you take me for, Father? He takes you for a total bozo who's about as effective as converting people as a documentary about the paedophile of the Catholic... He takes you for a total bozo who's about as effective as converting people as a documentary about paedophilia in the Catholic Church. He's just too kind to say it out loud. Ouch. Hear what I have to deal with, Father? But don't worry, we'll make a saint of her yet. Forget saint, for now I settle on an adult in the room. You do remember he's at least 70 years older than I am, right? As far as I'm concerned, growing up has far less to do with age, with the conditions of our formative years. Here, he gives me a folder he was carrying with him, and I pass him the reports I wrote earlier tonight. Among kindred, it is common knowledge the Catholic Church is one of the Lasombra's greatest assets. Hell, it might even be one of the main reasons the Camarilla is slowly warming up to the clan. We're technologically impaired, and as such, woefully unprepared to face the challenges of communicating in the 21st century. Hard to handle advanced encryption when you can't even unlock a smartphone. This is where the Vatican's connections enter the picture. A web of priests scattered all around the world exchange our dispatches between each other, making sure they all reach their destinations in total secrecy. I was told not everyone in the Holy See is friendly to our kind, but the most shrewd and talented usually are. You could say they're like mortal Camarilla, better than an intelligence agency. Remember what happened to Jean-Paul? When he attempted to uncover the workings of the Institute for the Works of Religion, death after 33 days of papacy, rumours of CIA and Masonic involvement. Not that Father Leonard has anything to do with this. For a Catholic priest, he's alright. Probably had made me stay a believer a few years ago, a few years longer than I did, had I known him as a teenager. Leonard is intelligent, kind, helpful towards his parishioners, treats his superiors with a healthy dose of skepticism, and is not involved in any sort of political church games. Well, at least not beyond helping me contact my boss in Chicago every other night or so. He knows about the Kindred and he knows about the Second Inquisition. He opted to avoid the latter in order to keep the former from oppression, because according to him, it's the right thing to do. I knew there's got to be something wrong with him, some selfish motivation maybe, and I haven't nailed it down yet. But it doesn't feel like he's making an effort to hide it, so I'm giving him a pass. By the way, I hope you don't mind. I find it at the liberty of asking how your parents are doing. Thank you, Father, but you shouldn't have. Not a problem. A priest of Saint Stanislaus Posca is a good friend. He says your parents started showing up every Sunday again. Front rows. Your father's looking better and better. It makes me feel nothing, but I still give him a token nod and a grateful smile. Thank you, Father. Now, if you'll excuse me, the sunrise is almost here. Yes, be careful and God bless you. Amen. Goodbye, Julia. I'll let you off the hook this time, but next time you won't be so lucky, alright? Sure. Just one more thing to put on my never-ending list of things I'm not looking forward to. Guess it's time to call it a night. I'm home. Finally. You doing alright? Fine, I guess. Why aren't you asleep? I figured it's finally time for me to become more of a night owl. We've talked about making our schedule sync better. Watch your vitamin D. I'd kill to have your skin. Wouldn't be ashamed to waste it. Would be ashamed to waste it. Shouldn't have smoked so much before you got bitten, sweetheart. Should have scheduled your skin routine back with me when I was breathing. I can't just go around sharing my one secret. Top secret, MK Ultra level. Jeffrey Epstein's current whereabouts level. I'd have to kill you if I told you. This game! Love you too, hon. Come on, what's with the attitude? Nothing, I just thought, we're beyond hiding secrets from each other. I guess I was wrong. But okay, I get it, I do. Time out, you're not really mad, are you? Nah, it's just my inner asshole teasing you. Never mind, I feel a little more self-conscious than usual tonight. You don't want me to do your makeup before you go to sleep? No need. No need? Weren't you supposed to have some sort of big party tomorrow? I was involved in the backstage stuff. What makes you think I was invited? Because you're the coolest, cutest, and most all-around amazing person I know? They'd be insane not to put you on the shortlist. Believe it or not, but most vampires are pretty insane. Interdimensional psychic vampire level insane? Because that's how crazy they'd have to be to ignore you like this. Yeah, I would say so. Fuck them then. A big bunch of posh dicks. They hate you because they ain't you, but they'll see. Jesus, how do you do it? Do what? You always assault me with this weird, stupid positivity that I can't get out to without completely shifting my mental attitude. How do you do it? Oh, the answer's easy. Remember how I told you we have this spiritual connection? I can sense what you feel and want. You can sense what I feel too, if you really focus. Yeah, I think I call it a big load of bullshit. To the girl who talks to her ghosts. But watch this, Agent Scully. I sense you feeling down and realize what you need to end this night. She points to one of her drawers. It's the one where she keeps her supply of... ketamine? Come on. What? No, wrong drawer. We're not meeting demons, we're meeting angels. MDMA? Ding ding ding. Took it half an hour ago. Perfect timing thanks to our spiritual connection. Ready to fly away? The mood isn't right. I need music. Got a special SoundCloud playlist ready to go, prepared specifically to uplift one Julia Savonsky. Just give me a signal, I'll press play. Jesus, you're impossible. That's why you love me, I hope. I give up. Come here, let me have a taste of you. Maybe this one time the high won't end. We have a thrall! It's our old friend. Speaking of endings, we're going to call it there for this stream because my voice is kind of going. I'm sure you can hear. So thank you very much for watching the Vampire the Masquerade Shadows of New York first video. First episode. We will get back to it probably tomorrow depending on the state of my voice. If you're watching on the YouTube or in the VODs, consider coming by to the live stream. And if you're watching on the YouTube, consider subscribing. And if you're live on the stream, consider following me on socials with !social. Join the official Skye Blacke Discord. and support me over on Ko-fi. Ko-fi supporters get access to behind the scenes exclusive and early access to YouTube content. Thank you all for watching.